Hello YouTube, my name is Nero. Today we have some more Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. Good God almighty, it's been a while since I've been on this game, but I figured it'd be a fantastic backdrop for today's video, so I decided to hop on, play some AW. Had a little bit of fun, honestly. I was fortunate enough to get the STG-44 out of a supply drop back in the day, and so I'm using a World War II era weapon, but in this advanced game, of course, this was Sledgehammer Games' first and only true Call of Duty game, so we can kind of look at it and try and think, well, what's Call of Duty World War II going to be like? Can we draw some comparisons between World War II and Advanced Warfare? As the months go on, the weeks go by, and more information becomes available for Call of Duty World War II, I am seeing the hype for the game starting to dwindle down a little bit. Right? And that was definitely to be expected. I told you guys this was going to happen. When we don't know anything about the game, when all we know is it's going to be set in World War II, our imagination goes wild, and in our heads, it's built up to be this perfect game. And as we learn more and more about the game, some of that illusion becomes shattered, and we actually get to see the game for what it actually is. So, of course, new information is going to be coming out relatively soon. We're going to be getting Zombies information on July 20th. The beta itself is going to begin on August 25th, and I imagine we're going to be learning a lot more as the weeks and months go by, leading up until the full release of the game. But is it actually going to be good? Is our faith still in Sledgehammer? I personally still think it's going to be a pretty awesome game. I have faith in Sledgehammer Games, and part of the reason why that is going back to Advanced Warfare here. Now, full disclosure, Advanced Warfare is one of my least favorite Call of Duty games, and in terms of playtime, it is by far my least played Call of Duty game for a couple of reasons. The big ones for me were weapon balance was definitely a bit of an issue, of course, the Ball 27 and the ASM-1, and then, of course, exosuits, right? You're watching the gameplay here. I am flying around constantly, and so is everybody else, and it didn't really make for a great Call of Duty game, at least in my opinion. But if you can look past that, and see what the game itself actually is, and see what aspects of the game may actually make their way into Call of Duty World War II, I definitely have a lot of faith in Sledgehammer, because a lot of the little things that they did in this game were actually pretty good, and keep in mind, Advanced Warfare is the first and only game that Sledgehammer Games has ever solo developed. Well, not counting like their previous stuff. Under the name Sledgehammer Games, this is the first game they ever actually made, and it was a bit rough around the edges. We can all admit that, but I feel as though it was pretty good for what the game actually was. There's a lot of things about Advanced Warfare that I thought were pretty good, which I will be covering here in this video, and I would like to preface this entire thing by saying this. In terms of Call of Duty World War II, we're seeing hype kind of die down a little bit. People are starting to complain about the game, but nobody's complaining about the gameplay aspects of it, right? I don't see people out there saying, oh, these guns look terrible, or the maps look bad, or the score streaks look boring. None of that. They're caring about the political side of things, and that's a pretty good thing, honestly, because we've seen so much gameplay coming out of B3, and people aren't complaining about the gameplay. They're caring about swastikas being removed from the multiplayer, or the fact that females are going to be in the game's multiplayer, or that you're going to be able to be a black German soldier, and stuff like that. Like, no one's complaining about the gameplay, and that's a pretty good sign, if you ask me, in regards to Call of Duty World War II. So what did I like about Advanced Warfare? Well, if you think about the core foundation of a Call of Duty multiplayer, what makes it good? Maps, guns, kill streaks, right? And I feel as though Advanced Warfare did a pretty good job in all three of those categories. Starting off with weapons, I understand the Ball and the ASM-1 were overpowered, right? Everyone knows that. They definitely were. But the rest of the weapons in the game, if you can look past those two obvious outliers, the rest of the weapons in the game were pretty balanced and pretty fun to use, honestly. And I actually liked the variant system to an extent. Now, full disclosure, I spent money on supply drops back in Advanced Warfare, but even then, the game really did throw supply drops at you, and in those supply drops, you had these weapon variants that would change how the weapon looked cosmetically, while at the same time changing aspects of them, which actually made the guns feel different. Like, you get a variant that increases your damage but lowers the fire rate, or increases the fire rate but reduces your run speed, or basically it made it so it felt like you had more weapons in this game than there actually were weapons in the game, which was definitely pretty fun, if you ask me. Now, weapon variants are returning in COD World War II, but they are said to be quote-unquote cosmetic only. We're going to have to see how that plays out, but just overall, I feel as though the weapons of Advanced Warfare were pretty awesome. I enjoyed using a wide variety of them, and that is definitely a good sign for Call of Duty World War II, at least in my opinion. Next up, let's talk about the maps. I feel as though the maps in this game were definitely underrated. Some really good maps came out in Advanced Warfare, especially in the base game. You have maps like Biolab, Retreat, Green Band, Solar, Comeback, all of them absolutely fantastic. There was one map, in my opinion, that was absolutely terrible, which would be Instinct. I feel as though it's one of the worst maps in Call of Duty history. In fact, when I did my top 10 worst maps in COD history, it was on there because it was that bad. But in general, the maps of Advanced Warfare were really good in my opinion. Like, every time I would hop on and play this game, rarely would I see a map where it's like, oh, this map, you know, because we have those in every single game. You have a map that shows up and you kind of just have to drudge through it, and you know that you're not really going to have as much fun on that particular map. Advanced Warfare didn't really have that, except for Instinct, at least in my opinion. So that's definitely a good sign leading into Call of Duty World War II. And then, of course, you have these score streaks. Score streaks in this game were incredible. They were very powerful, and they basically threw them at you if you played the objective. I remember there was an update. It didn't actually ship like this. There was an update a little bit after the game came out where they basically made it so you get a lot more score for playing the objective. And as such, in Advanced Warfare, if you capture domination flags, if you're out there confirming tags, if you're the person planting bombs, you just get score streaks thrown at you like crazy, which was incredible. Not to mention, these score streaks were customizable. They haven't actually confirmed or denied whether or not score streaks will be customizable in Call of Duty World War II, but these score streaks themselves were very good in Advanced Warfare, and I feel as though that is a very good sign leading up into Call of Duty World War II. The core foundation of a good multiplayer game are good gunplay, good maps, and good score streaks, and Advanced Warfare had all of them despite it being Sledgehammer Games' first ever Call of Duty game. So I definitely feel as though Call of Duty World War II can be pretty awesome. I have full faith in Sledgehammer Games, and going full circle here, we have seen a ton of gameplay that has come out of E3. They're posting it all over YouTube, and people don't seem to be complaining about the gameplay aspects of the game. They're complaining about the political side, which is definitely a very good sign. So I am more hyped than ever for Call of Duty World War II. As I said, Zombies information is going to be made available relatively soon. At the end of the summer, we are going to be seeing the actual beta for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and apparently PC. They haven't announced really anything, but it's going to have a PC beta as well, so that's definitely a good sign. I mean, Call of Duty World War II just looks absolutely incredible, and I would love to hear what you guys think down there in the comment section below. Like, right now, it seems like everybody's just complaining about the political side of things. Nobody's discussing the gameplay aspects. Like, if I had to say, from all the gameplay I've watched, I do feel as though the recoil looks a little bit low for my taste. The maps themselves look a bit smaller than what I actually would like, but overall, the gameplay looks pretty good. It really does. So I'd love to hear what you guys think about Call of Duty World War II down there in the comment section below. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Sincerely, thank you guys, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful day.